Hi friends, we have page 307 today, unit 7, lesson 2, 307 and 308. But I did want to chat real quick about this page. This page is kind of an experiment page. If you'd like to, you can cut these out and try cutting these or folding them into halves, thirds, quarters, and all of that stuff. So this is just kind of an extra explore page for you. There's nothing on the back, so you can totally just use it as you wish. So that's for you if you choose to. And it's kind of handy because if you start thinking about these rectangles, I'm actually going to use 4 different rectangles. And I'm just going to fold these because it says here on number 1, make 2 halves. But they have 4 rectangles that we're supposed to try to make halves with. And I think that for a lot of us, it seems really obvious on how to make 2 of those halves. Let's go ahead and talk about those obvious ones right away right now. I'll pause and you can do that. Yeah, so the first way that we can show halves is just 1 line down the middle and 1 line down the middle. Oof, that's a wonky line there. Let me try it again. Beep, there we go, much better. But the other ones aren't quite as obvious. But we can use diagonal lines to show halves as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut that in half. And what you're going to see is, it might not look obvious, but if I flip this around, turn it around, it lays exactly on top of that other one. So I know it's actually an even half. So I can draw a line that goes like this. What's the other way that you can draw a line to show that you have half? Yeah, we're just going to draw the diagonal the other way. So here we have 4 different ways to show half of a rectangle. Number 2 says, make 3/3. Show different ways, shade a third of each rectangle. So what are some ways that we can show thirds? Yeah, so here we go. Boom, like that. And then we can go boom, like that. So I'm going to go ahead and shade those in. Let me get some more of my colored pencil out there. I was just rubbing the end of it on paper. Okay, what are the other ways that we can make thirds with rectangles? All right, so we kind of arrived at the idea that these are the only ways that we can do thirds of rectangles. When we start to do diagonals, we end up with fourths. So that doesn't work. When we start to do other things like this, we're not sure that that's even thirds. We just know that we have divided it up, and our goal is to have thirds, all right? So these ones just don't work. Nope and nope. All right. But the next one says different shapes of a fourth of the same rectangle. So just like we used these ideas, we're going to figure out how we can make fourths on here. So the first one's going to be obvious, right? We divided that into 4 equal pieces. The next one isn't that much different. We're going to use diagonals. And after this, it starts to get trickier. All right, I'm going to pause the video and you are going to figure out how to make fourths using this rectangle. All right, so one of the ways that we can do fourths is to do this. 4 horizontal lines. 4 vertical lines. Another way is to divide it in half and do those diagonals. You end up with fourths like that too. So if we practice that one, look at that. The pieces all stack up perfectly, and we end up with 4 equal pieces. If we start doing a lot of processing, using different ideas of kind of the same thing, we start to end up with a lot of different ways. If you split it in half and get equal halves, you should be able to end up with fourths. And I'll bet that there's a lot of you that have even more ways. These aren't the only ways. I know of at least 12 different ways, but I need you to show me at least 8 different ways that you can make fourths. Okay, let's move to the back now. So we're always talking about equal shares. When we're doing multiplication, we're always dividing things into equal pieces. And so when we say that you can divide it into 2 pieces, we almost never mean go like that. We're always thinking, like if you were cutting a candy bar or something like that, and you're sharing it with your brother or sister or cousin, if you ended up with this one and this one, somebody is probably going to be upset or have hurt feelings. And so we're always looking for those equal shares. I'm gonna throw that away. All right, make 2 equal shares. Show the different ways. Shade half of each square. All right, so we're doing the same thing. You should all have 4 ways to do this pretty quick. Hint, hint. So go ahead and do that right now. Tell me in the chat when you are finished. Yeah, we ended up with a vertical, a horizontal, diagonal this way, and diagonal that way. Once again, they're asking us to make 3 equal shares. So we're doing thirds this time, dividing it into 3 equal pieces. Hint, hint. We have a very similar issue as on the other side. Can we make one for those last 2? Not really, right? Okay, and just like what we did over here, you are going to show ways to divide this square into fourths, and I'm not going to do it this time. You're going to figure out all 8 ways that you're going to divide your square into fourths. Go ahead and do that right now. All right, we're almost done for today, but we're gonna move into circles now. Make 2 equal shares and shade half of the circle. All right, so with a circle, it's not any different than doing this stuff. I'm gonna put a line down the middle, and I'm going to shade half of it. So even though a circle might seem a little bit intimidating, it's really not. How can you make 3 equal shares of a circle? So we're divided into 3 pieces that are equal. How can we do that? Does that work? Absolutely not. We can't tell if that's equal. We have to think about it like a pizza. How would you cut a pizza to make sure it was equal? yeah, you kind of start in the middle. So if you're dividing that into thirds, it's a little bit like a peace sign. So I put a dot in the middle, that there. And that's as close as I can get to get 3 equal parts to the circle. And I'm gonna go ahead and shade one part. Okay, and the last one says make 4 equal shares, shade a fourth of the circle. So we're gonna do similar to that where we just chopped it in half. We're gonna chop it in half again, and we're gonna shade one of those portions. And I think we're going to stop there. We would have this conversation if we were in person. I want to see a picture of both sides of this paper. And thank you so much for working on our equal shares.